Everybody, welcome to the Relatable Radio Hour with me, Dr. Green. Thank you so very much for joining. Tonight we have a very interesting topic. It's a little different than what we normally do on our shows. I'm wanting to do this because we've been having such a great discussion about so many different topics, but I wanted to tonight discuss something that I think everybody can relate to on some form, whether it's on the job, whether it's dealing with people, whether it is dealing with family, or just being involved with organizations and all types of functions. It's one of those type of topics that resonate in so many different areas of our life. Sometimes we don't even recognize it, but I think it's something very important to discuss. And as I was thinking about this particular topic, I got two great friends that you all should be familiar with at this point, who have so much insight on this. And I really thought it was really important to bring them into the fold and bring them back on the show so that we can discuss it again. So I want to reintroduce two good friends of mine, DJ Vision, coming from Jackson, Mississippi. How you doing, DJ Vision?
How you doing, Dr. Green? Thank you for having me once again, man. It's a pleasure to be on your platform.
Great to have you back again. And also, real estate investor, and also just entrepreneur, tech guy, the whole nine yards. Johnny Flemming, who is also my fraternity brother. How are you doing, Johnny?
Hey, Dr. Green, thank you for having me once again. It's an honor and a privilege to be amongst you here on this platform this evening. Thank you.
Such a distinguished welcome. Thank you so much, Johnny. I appreciate that, man. So I haven't given you all the topic yet, but the topic that we're going to discuss tonight is integrity. And when you think about integrity, we're talking about someone who does what they say that they're going to do in the time that they're going to do it. They don't leave you hanging. They don't put you in compromising situations where you're going to have to, do something that is, way out of league because you were expecting somebody to do it and they don't show up, they don't come up on time, all these different things. And like I said, you can see this in all facets of society today. So it's a very important topic. We're going to talk in different angles because both of these gentlemen have seen it in different purviews of what they do on a day-to-day basis. And I think it'd be good just to get some nuggets from them. And so thank you both again for joining tonight. Johnny, I'll start with you just because, and we kind of talked about this recently,
Mhm.
how demanding it is, of course, that you need people to do certain services for your properties and things of that nature. And just sometimes running into these individuals who just don't have the integrity or the character to do what they say that they're going to do. Just so that we can just get an idea of how this looks on your end, kind of give us some examples of some things that you've seen with individuals who've kind of lacked that integrity or that character, that have that have been in your fold as it relates to real estate and doing things that you need services with.
Um, as recently as this past weekend, you know that I was home recently working on some landscaping for one of my properties. Where we had a gentleman that was contracted to do the lawn service. And in that agreement, he was to there's a lot of oak trees on the property. And we know that, it could be tedious with the pine straw, the pine cones, sticks falling in the yard. So we made him well aware of the task that he had at hand, and that included, bagging those items, picking up the limbs, the pine cones, pine straws as best he could. Well, I get out to the property, the lawn is cut, but pine cones everywhere, tree limbs everywhere, pine
Mhm.
straw everywhere. So I give him a call, and I won't say his name. I'm like, hey man, I'm still seeing a lot of debris in this yard. Can you kind of give me, tell me what's going on here? And he says, well, I came by. I didn't see any limbs in the yard, didn't see any pine cones. I said, well, Let me take a few photos and send them to you. First thing he says, "Oh, those just happened." No, they didn't just happen. Like I have a property manager that manages the property. He
Right.
goes out there
Right.
often. Even he confirmed that no, he just didn't do it. So unfortunately, I had to end his contract because he did not do what he was contractually obligated to do. So he no longer works for me. So it's just about,
So,
doing what you say you're gonna do. He didn't do it,
mhm.
and that's just the nature of the business. He no longer works for me.
So I guess it's fair to say that he never picked up the contracted items whenever he did the work for you throughout the entire time that he was working for you.
Correct. So he may have done it the first, and then this is how these people with no integrity. This is what they do. They'll do it right the first couple of times, but when they think
Mm,
nobody's watching, is when they kind of stray away from what they're contractually obligated to do. And I believe because he knows that I don't live in Jackson, I don't think he counted on me
mhm,
showing up. You know, he does know that I have a property manager. My property manager goes often, but I don't think he counted on me showing up and seeing physically with my own two eyes what had been going on. So I think that's kind of he just kind of got caught up.
mm. And so I mean I'm not needing specifics, but like when you did have that conversation with him about that said thing in the contract that was not being fulfilled, like what was his reaction? What was his response to you?
I was willing to kind of let it slide, but he was almost not apologetic at all. And
Mm,
that's kind of what I was looking for. And that goes along with integrity too, because there's an accountability thing here. If you know you didn't do it, just admit to it. Hey, Mr. Flemming, I'm sorry. You're right. I didn't do what I was supposed to do. Let me get my guys back out there right away. And that would have been the end of it. But there was no apology. It was more excuses than anything. And I believe ultimately, in my mind, that's what made me decide to say, "Hey, this is not going to cut it."
mhm.
So he theoretically fired himself. I didn't even have to
Yeah,
say the words "you're fired." He basically
yeah,
said, I'm not your guy."
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's fine.
I literally was about to say he fired himself because he didn't live up to what was asked of him to do. So how long was
Right.
he on contract?
He had been probably for over a year.
Oh wow.
And with me and my business partner, he was cutting 25 of our properties. So he lost a significant income
Mm.
just
All
from
because he
over,
didn't want
just
to pick
over
up.
one property. He lost
Yeah.
25 properties over one property just for not for the lack of integrity.
Wow.
Sounds like pride kicked in there too, because he wasn't willing
It
to
does.
own up to
Hmm.
it.
Yeah. And it's kind of weird how those two things go hand in hand, integrity,
Mhm.
pride, accountability. It's like a recipe for disaster if you don't know how to handle it. And that's basically what happened.
Mhm. I also kind of think about it in this context. There is a such thing as that victim mentality
Hmm.
when people are always the victim. Like it's always someone else's fault that
Right.
something didn't get done, and they are never to blame for their faults or things that they are responsible for. It's someone else's fault. Oh, I couldn't do this because so and so. It's them. They never do blah blah blah, and it's never they never take that instance to look within themselves and just hey, was I wrong with this? Like, was I in the
Right.
wrong about how this took place? Sounds like a bit of that kind of took place too with this guy. So, is that kind of a common occurrence for you as it relates to just individuals working for you in different services as it relates to your properties?
Oh, all the time. Contractors are often looking for ways to get over on you. They're often looking
Mm,
for ways to cut corners. So you have to stay on them because if not, you're not going to get the results that you're looking for. So it's a very common thing, unfortunately.
Hmm. Yeah,
Let me say it like this.
that's
I would not have a successful business if I didn't have accountability, because it's literally the foundation of running a successful business. You have to be able to listen to other people. You have to be able to take the lumps and the bruises just as you would if if it was a W. So accountability is key. Integrity is key. They kind of go hand in hand.
I totally agree with that. Totally agree. So, DJ Vision, you're kind of listening to Johnny just kind of talk about, the lack of integrity that he's may have had with some employees and dealing with his properties and things of that nature. I know that in your line of work, it's kind of different. You're actually providing services to individuals. So, in the context of how you see that lack of integrity, or just integrity in general, I probably should say, uh, how does it uh, how does it line up for you and how you work?
Well, because on a personal level, seeking service, I've been burned with a bunch of people, contractors, uh, for not displaying integrity. So that's one of the things that I put at the forefront of my business. I lead with integrity because that's the foundation of what I do, and so far it's set me apart from others. Something as simple as that sounds, so many people lack it, and I think the culture that we live in, the pop culture that we live in, it's all about finesse. Everybody's trying to get one up on each other. Not treating each other fairly, just trying to win. It's all about winning now, and displaying that integrity sets you up years and years later. It's not about just winning today and getting that instant gratification. It's about setting things up for the long haul. So, I've taken those bad experiences and said to myself, in my business, I'm going to do the exact opposite of that. And that's kind of been my motivation.
How have you been able to do that? Because it's very easy, seemingly, not to. But how have you been able to maintain it and to kick that into gear?
To me, it's one of the easiest things you can do, just to do what you say you're going to do. I mean, a 5-year-old can do that. I guess it's just a mindset. You got to get in that mindset of just being honest and being a man of your word, and having a certain degree of honor about yourself.
Yeah, and it does take a lot of that. So, uh, I think and I don't want to overstep in saying this, but it seems as though individuals who seem to have that character and integrity, they get it, from somewhere in some place. It's either learned or it's something that you have observed from individuals. Where would you say your foundation started as it relates to having that sense of integrity and that sense of character?
I got you. Well, I mean, I can't deny that my father. He's a man of integrity. He's always honored his word. That's probably my number one influence on that aspect. I just come from that. He's been a man of his words, and he kind of a man of his word, and he kind of instilled that in me and my brother. So how we were raised.
It's just that observation of how your father raised you all and just kind of brought you to be. Um, so Johnny, let's say, you know, you manage to find someone with that sense of integrity that you're looking for. How do you manage to keep them in the fold? And how do you manage to keep them, kind of going in that direction of offering that service with that good character and integrity?
Well, I'd also like to say that, my integrity comes from that age-old saying, treat people as you want to be treated, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so you tend to look for people with those same philosophies, those same uh, ways of thought, like-minded individuals. And in this business, it's difficult to find that sometimes. Um, but oftentimes, when you run across those people, you tend to hang on to them, create incentive-based programs, things of that nature. For example, my property manager, I have a couple of them in different locations, one in Starkville and one in Jackson. But they're just a great group of people, like-minded individuals, entrepreneurs that understand that integrity and accountability is the foundation of what we're trying to build here. And like I said, I do incentive-based programming, things that say, hey, if you can do this by that, then this is the reward for that. And that seems to keep everybody uh, the morale high. Uh, it makes people want to do more for you in a sense. So, like I said, just finding like-minded individuals.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. If you two can think about, where we are as a society and this topic just in general of integrity, doing what you're supposed to be doing, saying, I mean, doing what you're saying that you should be doing, and following through and all these things. Uh, where do you think we went wrong?
Questions that
I don't know.
need
It's kind of like
answering.
a loaded. It's kind of like a loaded question, but
That's a
like
very loaded question because,
if you just
my
kind of think
first
about it, I
thought
know it's.
is my first thought is always the mass media, not just social media, but what you see on television as well. There's a sense of entitlement.
Mm,
John mentioned early that a lot of people are just out to finesse, see what they can get and get out before they get in too deep. No one cares about a code of ethics anymore. Um, and I believe that the mass media has perpetuated that thought process. So, what we were taught, hard work, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And it seems like, everybody now is more like, how can I get over on the next person? So,
yeah.
it's kind of hard to pinpoint it, but I would say mass media, you know.
Yeah, it's just the culture, the nature of the beast, the culture that we in. Um, like I mentioned before, it's pop culture. We're all about that. Um, every man for himself, dog eat dog.
Hmm.
Trying to get one over on each other, finesse, trying to finesse. It's all about finessing, and so everybody's already entering that mindset of okay, how can I finesse my situation into the best deal possible? Not thinking, you know, not setting themselves up for the next deal and the next deal and the next deal, just focusing on this one deal. And just not a good way to do business.
Hmm. So if you all can think about, and please don't use names. That's not my purpose in asking this. If you can think of like it in a broader sense, is it more of a generational thing as it relates to people with integrity? Is it more of another? I mean, let me ask it a different way. Is integrity an old school way of being, or is it just you know a luck of the draw? It could be someone old. It could be someone maybe younger in the younger generation. Is it divided in that type of way? What are your thoughts about that?
Well, it's hard to say. I can only speak for the generation that I was raised in, but if I could guess, I'm sure it's gotten worse over time. Um, like like we mentioned before, in terms of pop culture, that's had an influence on the demise of it. The lack of male influences, uh,
Hmm.
positive influences, has played a part in that as well. So I would imagine that it has gotten worse.
I would have
I
to
think I
agree
heard you
to
correctly.
some.
You said male influences have made that into a thing with this generation. Is that what you said?
Yeah, positive. The lack of positive.
Positive, lack of positive. Okay, okay.
I would definitely have to agree with John. I don't necessarily think it's a generational thing because I mean I've gotten the lack of integrity from men older than me, as well as men younger than me. I do really think that there is a lack of positive male role models within the community, for sure. Um, you know, as much as I want to blame it on the youth, I can't because I've seen it with my own eyes. Um, but yeah, there is definitely something going on that I personally just can't pinpoint. Um, outside of, like I mentioned earlier, the mass media, John mentioned pop culture. It's definitely something going on that we have to be able to identify and try to rectify the situation.
Hmm. Uh, Total tangent, but I think I've counted that you've called DJ Vision John 3 times. So I don't know if he wants to be called that. Gotta change it up. He's on his shirt. John instead. Gotta.
Well, just so the viewers know, not he's not only just your friend, but he's my friend too for over 30 years. So
Yeah, man, I'm just saying.
If
I'm
you go
trying
back,
to keep his anonymity
I
going on
I
with
got you,
the
DJ Vision. I got you.
it's DJ
it's
Vision. Come on,
all
man. What we
good.
doing?
I know we go back 30 years, so no love lost.
It's just still just I mean it's on his shirt. It's like right there. I'm just throwing it out there. You all are right. Well, I don't know if you all are right, but I appreciate your feedback on saying that. Now you all brought up the fact that you all kind of said that this is kind of like a thing that you're seeing in males, so to speak. Are you all saying that it's primarily found in just males, or can we bring uh, females into this conversation too? Because I think integrity, can fall onto anybody. I wouldn't just put it on one gender. But what are you all saying? Are you seeing it more of a pattern with males as opposed to women?
Um, in my profession, most of my professions, even on the entrepreneurial aspect of it, is been male dominated. I work with a lot of contractors on the real estate side, and even in engineering, it was mostly just males. So in my personal experience, it's just been males. I do
Oh wow.
have I do have a couple of women that have worked with me and for me, and I saw less of those issues, but I can't say
Hmm.
definitively that it's a gender thing because I just don't have the statistics to identify that.
Because I think in just my experience, and I'll share mine in just a second, but I've seen it work both ways, and I'll go into some details and for that in a second. DJ Vision, what do you think? Is it just for you a matter of seeing it more in males or females or both?
Well, I don't want to, I don't want to be biased in any way or,
Right.
um, offend one sex over the other. But just on a personal business level, as far as with DJ Vision, I deal with women,
Right.
and they usually always, I won't say always, but 95% of the time, the women that I deal with honor their word. Um, so I've only I say 99% of the time. I've only ran into one instance where somebody didn't honor their word. Believe it or not, they called themselves a prophet or an evangelist. That's ironic. That's the only one time. And my personal experience has been primarily on the male end.
Hmm. So I'm hearing Johnny say that it's in his line of profession has been mostly males, and Johnny. Sorry, I just did it. DJ Vision said it as well. Um, so I think for me, what I've seen, and I just kind of want to ask myself the same questions that I just asked you all. Um, integrity has been a very big issue in my line of work because a lot of people have had that victim mentality and they're not good at um, like that time management that leads up to them doing what they said they would do at the time that they would do it. The biggest thing that I've seen is they may do it, but the time that they said they're going to do it has never been on time. That's been my personal issue with integrity. I've
Mm,
seen individuals who have promised to have something by a deadline, and the deadline was never made. That's probably been my biggest pet peeve is just when people don't do what they say they're going to do at the time they say they're going to do it, which I think is also an integral part of integrity. And if I can think about individuals who have done that the most in my line of work, it has definitely been men. It has been. And I think that's come from the fact that they have oversold something that they said that they could do and they couldn't do it. And when they couldn't do it, they scrambled and then they missed the deadline. And then when they did finally give it to me, maybe 2 or 3 or sometimes weeks later, it still wasn't right. But in that same regard, I have had interactions with women who have promised me things in a timely manner. And although it looked great, it was everything that I asked for, it still wasn't on time. So I'm also kind of wondering for you all, has it been a matter of like, hey, they do what they say they're going to do, but the time that they said that they were going to do it, it doesn't line up. Have any of you all experienced anything similar to that? Because that's another part of integrity.
Oh yeah, um,
yeah.
and it's to the point where it's so bad that I don't necessarily hold that against them. I take that if they eventually end up doing it, it's gotten so bad. I take that as a win because it's hard to even
Mm,
get somebody just to do that. So that's how far off we are with that.
Yeah, I
and I
mean,
just,
he's right.
mm,
I've seen situations like that as well where somebody overpromised, underdelivered. Um, Time is of essence. Everybody know the age old saying, "Time is money," especially in the real estate business. Uh, if it comes to turning over a unit, and I need something done because I got somebody on a wait list waiting to have a unit. Um, if you don't have it done in a timely fashion, that's potential revenue loss. So
mm-hmm,
yeah, when it comes to the timing of things, that's very integral to the business and integrity, as you mentioned earlier. So yeah, I definitely had my spiel of that.
mm-hmm. I just think that's equally as important. Like if people don't give you what you ask for and the time that you ask for, I think
Hmm.
that's more important for me because I can even deal with someone saying that they can do something and not necessarily doing what I asked, but maybe coming to me maybe days before the deadline and say, "Hey, I did it early, but what do you think about this? Is this looking like you wanted it to look?" And I could look in and be like, "Oh, this is great. No, 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 this is terrible. This is wrong." But they did it at least 2 days prior to the deadline, so they can go back, change it,
Hmm.
and then deliver it on time. I'm cool with that.
Well,
Yeah.
my
But
thing is,
even that,
well, I
go
was gonna
ahead.
say, my thing is versus not doing it at all, just not showing up,
Right.
a no show.
Right. And I think we've gotten so used to people being so horrible at not doing what they're asked. We're okay with the people that do it and don't get it right the first time, or it may be late. You know, because
Mm-hmm.
when Sherman mentioned integrity, my mind automatically went to the people who stood me up or didn't do what they were supposed to do. It never went to who didn't do it on time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that
Mm-hmm.
that was interesting.
Yeah. And I know we've all had situations where people just flat out just did not deliver what they
Hmm.
said they were going to do. Um, I have several examples of people just leaving me out to dry. And if I didn't have that plan B, C, D, and E, then something could have been terribly, terribly wrong.
Right.
Um, I got names to name, but I'm not because
Don't do
that's
it.
tacky. I'm not gonna do that.
Don't do it.
But it definitely makes you think about that proper planning just in the event that somebody doesn't do something that they said that they would do. um I think for the most part we grew up with families like DJ Vision said, where we were instilled with that foundational thing of doing what we said that we were going to do. And we've gotten a lot of business in our perspectives from inhabiting that same foundation. How do you all think it would be growing up as a child in today's society and not even knowing the concept of integrity? How do you all envision your lives being if you didn't have that necessary tool in your life right now? Like growing up, let's say as a teenager in 2024.
I can't imagine it. I can't even fathom the thought because even though I'm an entrepreneur, I do provide a service. I can't let my tenant go, a week without HVAC. It's 100 degrees outside. I can't let them go a week without AC, right? I have to get that remedy immediately. If I don't have integrity, that doesn't happen, and now I lose a tenant. You see what I'm saying? So I still offer a service. I cannot fathom the thought of not having a level of integrity to be able to support and sustain my business. I can't even fathom that. So when you ask, how would a teenager in today's time grow up with the lack of I can't even fathom it. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question because I just cannot see myself without having some level of integrity. But what I will say is I kind of feel like we already see it in some sense. Like when you pull up to McDonald's, you don't
Mm,
get that warm welcome, that you would typically get if you were pulling up to McDonald's back in like 1990 something. You know what I mean? Um, I just feel like the level of service is just kind of poor. Is not like what we're used to or what we know that we would provide if we were doing that same job. Um, so I don't know. I couldn't imagine not having some level of integrity. I just couldn't fathom the thought.
mhm. What do you think, DJ?
Well, if I didn't have that code of ethics and display the level of integrity, I definitely wouldn't be where I am today.
Mm,
I consider the DJ Vision brand a success. I consider my life pretty successful to a certain degree, and I hadn't been the smartest person growing up. I that that integrity is what and along with my faith in God, is what I've been my foundation, and those things right there is catapult me beyond what I could even dream or imagine. So definitely it's key in my life.
Johnny, you kind of mentioned this a little earlier. Well, actually, I think you just said it. How if you go to like McDonald's and things of that nature, where are you all seeing the lack of integrity and the lack of character the most in your lives, aside from like what you're doing, in your professions, where else in society are you seeing it the most?
Um, Food services for sure. Um,
Service, yeah, service industry.
yeah,
You-
Hmm.
just the service industry. You can't even walk in Home Depot anymore. I saw a reel on Instagram where a young lady mentioned that if you're not walking around with gray hair or you're not like look like my granddad, I'm not even gonna talk to you because one, you know nothing about the store, and two, there's gonna be a lack in customer service. And I tend to agree with her. The service level is just horrible nowadays. Most of the people don't want to be there. They got an attitude for whatever reason. And it's like, if you didn't want to work here, maybe you shouldn't have applied or. So it's like the service level for sure to answer your question is just not the best these days. Definitely lacking.
Yeah. Any specifics that you've seen, Vision?
well, yeah, just to go off of what Johnny, Mr. Flemming said, in the service industry, restaurants, Home Depot, stores of that nature, it's it's lacking. Um, and I think it's a cultural thing, man. That's just where we are. We're not holding people accountable for that.
Mm. And that accountability just it works so much hand in hand with it. It
Yeah,
really,
it keeps
really
popping
does.
up.
Uh-huh. And
Right.
it's like it's almost like that cycle, right? Where like if they see it from somebody, then they adapt that same behavior, and then they have kids, and then they just kind of pass it down. It almost seems like we're
Hmm.
at that point where it's just that rare to see it. Um, if I think of service, I mean, I want everywhere I go to give me like that Chick-fil-A experience.
Hmm.
And I know that we all know what that, looks like and how they say, hey, hey, how are you doing? How can I take your order? Oh, thank you. Have a great day, whatever they say. But it's always pleasant. Like they go over and beyond to make you feel,
Right.
valued as a customer. And I'm thinking about a time when I went to Popeyes, and you all know which one I'm talking about. It was the one on Northside Drive. I'm being very Jacksonist right now, and people who are watching. This is a Jackson thing, and it was one of those times when they weren't taking uh, cards; they were only taking cash. And so, a lot of people were upset about it. They were going in and going out because they didn't have cash. And so I walked in, I saw the paper written sign, we're just taking, cash. And the young lady behind the counter, had this kind of stank attitude, if I can just be honest. And she was just saying, "We're not taking cards." That's how she said it to me. "We're not taking cards." And I said, "Okay." And I said, "I want a two-piece white, spicy, and I want it with mashed potatoes." And so she took my order, and she said, "What did she say?" She said something like, um, we can't take nothing lower than a $20 bill. And I took that $20 bill. Let me do it. I'm gonna do like I did. I was like, take this $20. And I was like, you're not gonna try to make me feel like, you know, whatever you doing in your world, I'm not doing it. Like, give me
Right.
my
Right.
chicken, here's your $20. I'm
Right.
not doing it. But I took that one experience to say, like, if anybody gives me service like this, it's time for me to show them how to properly treat people. I actually went back when I went to my car, got the receipt because I made sure I got the receipt. I put that down on the customer service thing, and they gave me like a free meal because I was like, nah, she needs to learn. Not just her,
Hmm.
but people in that space need to learn how to treat people and how to have that integrity and character to work in that line of business. I think we've come to that place with it as it relates to service. I don't know what you all think, but that's kind of where I am with it. What are
But
your
there was no
thoughts?
accountability there. There was no manager to go
None.
over to her and say, "Hey,
Mm-mm.
this is not how you do what you're currently doing. This is not the
Hmm.
way." You know.
It's not the
So
way.
again, no accountability. So if there's nobody to hold you accountable, then you're never going to correct the action, and it's just a trickle down effect. So the person that's coming behind her sees her doing this behavior. Guess what they're going to do? The exact same thing
Hmm.
because nobody has
Hmm.
corrected it.
Right. And if the business itself doesn't require that, they're gonna do whatever, they can get away with. So
Hmm.
Hmm.
it's we're not necessarily we're talking about the workers, but we got to hold the business accountable for that kind of stuff. They know it's going
And
to.
we're so used to poor performance that
Hmm.
it doesn't dawn on us to say, you know what, I'm not going to spend my dollar here anymore.
Right.
We're just used to the poor performance, so we'll continue to go there and eat and have no problem with it because that's what we've been accustomed to. That's the like
Hmm.
DJ Vision said, that's the current culture.
Hmm.
Sort of like you know how people always say New York is a very mean place. No one says excuse
Hmm.
me, they'll bump into you.
Yeah.
Well, somebody created that standard. Somebody didn't hold somebody accountable. So therefore, that kind of just created this world of everybody just being mean in New York. But you come down south, that doesn't happen because somebody somewhere, somebody's grandma slapped them upside the head and say, "Boy, you better say excuse me," or something
Hmm.
like that. That didn't happen in New York, you know. So
Hmm.
I don't know. That A word just keeps popping up. So maybe this
Accountability. It's
conversation should have
important.
been about accountability. I don't know.
It led us there. I think
Yeah.
integrity
Yeah.
was a good way to ease us into talking about accountability,
Right. Right.
because I think it is very important for us to do that, to hold each other accountable. I think something that, and I'm speaking to YouTube, but I know we have, a larger friend group than just the three of us. But I think something that we've done well is just to hold each other accountable for doing things, to
Hmm.
make sure that we're doing what we say that we're going to do. And I think that's really important too. I think it's important for people to surround themselves with people who can hold them accountable to do what they say they're going to do. That's also something that I've kind of observed that's kind of not really a thing anymore. Where people just kind of, like you said, let them kind of slide, let them pass without, doing what they say that they're going to do, not, challenging them to do better or to be even acknowledging of their ways of not doing what they say they're going to do. But there was something that we mentioned earlier about the presence of it just kind of seeming like it's males. In my background, working in life coaching, working in higher education, especially, I've had the privilege of working with Black men for quite some time. Young Black men who are going to college and wanting to better their lives, and I'll be honest, a lot of them did not even know the idea behind accountability or integrity, or they're holding their character. These were things that they kind of learned in conversations. And something that I always liked to do was to, size them up or challenge them to be better or to do things in a better way. How do you all think we can take this conversation or facets of this conversation and share this with individuals who need to hear this very important topic? Like, what are some ways, tangible ways, that we can actually get out and make more awareness of this?
Hmm. Um, I think it just kind of comes with experience. Like as it happens, you step in and say, "Hey, this is how you should have handled this situation." If I had the opportunity to speak with that young man that fired himself on a more personal level, I would have
Hmm.
told him that, "Hey, this is how you should have handled this situation." Because if not, you won't have a business. You know,
Hmm.
like I said, he lost 20 plus other properties as a result of this one issue. Um,
Hmm.
you know,
It just wasn't a
I don't
wise
know.
business decision for him to do
Yeah,
it.
it wasn't a
What
wise
was the
business
point?
decision.
Mm-hmm.
There was a different way he could have handled it. Like I mentioned earlier, if he could have just apologized and said, "Hey, I misunderstood the contractual agreement," I would have accepted that. Because miscommunications happen. Um, but his lack of accountability, led him to fire himself, and he lost a significant amount of revenue. But going back to what you were asking, I would have taken the time to sit him down and say, "Hey, this is probably how you should have handled this situation, and if it happens again, I believe that there's a way that you could, save yourself some potential revenue loss."
Mm-hmm. But you, Vish?
Yeah, just mentorship,
Mm.
taking the taking investing in the youth. First and foremost, just being visible, and being a good example. They they're kind of gonna gravitate towards you because I think part of the problem is they don't see enough. They just don't see enough of it, so they don't know. So just being visible go a long way, so they can
Mm-hmm.
fathom the process of what they can try for people.
Yeah.
Have you all had the opportunity to take someone under your wing and just kind of show them the ways, especially as it relates to this particular topic of integrity and accountability? Have you all had the opportunity to do that with someone yet?
I have actually. And you guys know him. I won't say his name, but he owed a debt, and I was on him because he had a
He did what?
history.
Wait,
He
what'd you say?
he owed a debt.
Okay. Oh, the debt. Okay.
Yeah, he owed a debt,
Ah.
and I was on him. And it wasn't about the money. He has a history of not paying people back. All right, regardless of how close in friendship we were, this, that, and the other. And I said to myself, I'm not gonna let this slide. So I was on him. Every other week, every time I thought he was gonna get paid, I was sending a message. And he finally sent it. But when he sent it, I sent him a note, and I told him, I said, "Listen, this was never about the money. I don't need it. I don't need it. But it's about you having a level of integrity to do what you say that you were going to do. If you said that you were going to pay me back, then you should pay me back, and you should do it in a timely fashion." And he took that, you know, he took it into his heart. There was no grievances or anything like that, and he totally understood what I was saying. And he knew better, you know. So
Mhm.
that was a learning moment for him, and I'm hoping that in the future that he'll do better. So
Uh, I'm just curious. When did you receive that?
uh,
Like him, man.
Yeah, yeah. I just
it
want
was
to know when you
actually
when you did.
the 7th of this month because he gave me a
Okay.
specific date, and he paid on that date. So it was the 7th of this month.
Here's your
No
$10.
love lost. We love you. I'm just speaking.
Yeah, he knows no love laws, and I made sure
We
he
love him.
was
We love
well
you.
aware of that. But yeah.
Okay. Viz, now, Viz, if I'm not mistaken, you have had some times when you've been mentoring individuals, taking them under your wing and showing them, how you kind of proceed with what you do. Am I accurate in saying that?
Yeah, kind of indirectly. Um,
Yeah.
wasn't necessarily trying to do it, but I did. I had a young DJ um, that was kind of losing some opportunities just by. I mean, he was a good guy, but it was just certain things he was doing that wasn't on a professional level, and I just kind of shot him some game, told him a few things he needs to do that he can consider, and first and foremost, try to be an example first. And
Right.
once they respect you and you carry yourself in a way they want to strive to be, they'll tend to start listening to you. So I just gave him some game, showed him how to be professional, showed him certain things he may want to cut out, and as a result, he calls me every now and then, gets advice on certain situations. So they tend to work out. So that's one of the.
Yeah, and that's really cool. We haven't always, been like these individuals who, have, you know, uh, really grown in our careers and things of that nature. There's been a lot of times that we had to figure this thing out. I think Johnny, you kind of said just kind of growing in experience kind of helps you with this. Can you all think of a time where you actually had to learn this concept, like you were really put into action to doing something that you said that you were going to do and having that integrity enough to do it in a timely manner? When did it finally click for you? Like, what was that experience where you were like, oh, wait, I need to do this every time? Not like, you just grew into it. Because, I mean, we learned it, we observed it, of course, from parents and things of that nature. But it's all about being put in that situation that always makes you think of, holding yourself accountable to doing something you said you were going to do. And you think back to that moment whenever you kind of, slip a little bit. You think about that moment. What's that moment for the both of you?
Well, for me, it's several moments. And to go back to what Johnny said, you treat others the way you want to be treated. And so it's been several times where I've been burned, and I don't like that feeling. I don't like that feeling of disappointment. So I try to
The words right out of my mouth.
do my best to to not fall into that same, treat others, not to make others feel as bad as I did when I've gotten disappointed. So I just draw back from the many occasions where I've been disappointed.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, man. That feeling that when you're counting on someone and they don't come through, that's a horrible feeling. And I've never wanted to be that person for someone. I never wanted to make
Yeah.
someone feel that way. So that's kind of what grows that integrity gene, is being burnt so many times, you know.
Mhm.
That was my Mississippi coming out, burned so many times.
Wow. And the thing is, I heard it.
You guys are
I
so
accepted,
accustomed to it
I
that
accepted it as to how you said it.
you accepted it, right? And
Terrible. Terrible, right?
that's how we as society has accepted, lackluster
Hmm.
service,
Sure.
in that same way.
That's true.
Yeah, just being burned by on so many levels, you never wanted to be that for someone. So, I mean, I can think of 100 situations where I got burned and I was like, I'm never going to be that way. But, if you want to get really technical, being in the IT field, you have deadlines. If you don't reach that deadline, you out of there, So it's just that simple. It's just that cut and dry. They pay you to do a job. You either do it or you don't. And if you don't do it, you're out of there. So that's it.
Yeah. I can definitely echo what you two have said as far as that disappointment. I felt that, in several instances, and that showed me the exact opposite of who I wanted to be in
Hmm.
every given situation, whether it is somebody that I just met, whether it is somebody that I've known for 30 plus years. It could be somebody that is in need of something, and I know that they are. Like, I'm going to do my very best to do what I said that I was going to do. And I'm just taking this position just because I can, because this is my show. To the either of you, have I ever not done something I said I was going to do?
Not that I can
Think
recall.
about it.
Not that I can recall.
Yeah. But probably
Johnny?
you say you're gonna show up to an event and you didn't. I don't know.
Well, even
Okay,
in those
that's different.
instances, he's left it open.
Yeah, he always leaves it open. He knows
I- That's
how
how
to
you
do
know
it.
he's not coming.
Yeah,
I think that's smart. I think that's smart to do that
yeah,
because you're giving, and then you know me enough to know, how
exactly.
it's gonna turn out. So, but when you need me and it's a serious thing, I'm pretty committed. At least I try to be to do what
I
I
could
say I'm gonna
say out of everyone on this call here on this interview, we don't have that issue as far as integrity is concerned. And even in the larger spectrum of our friend group, and integrity is just one of those things that is embedded in who we are. So in our friend group, we don't have those issues. Now, are
Yeah,
there some people that we have to kind of bump their shoulder a little bit? Yeah. But for the most part, that's not an issue that we have.
yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree with that. And it took the integrity and character for you all agreeing to be on this show and providing these nuggets that brought you here. And I am again very appreciative that you all took the time to do that yet again. So thank you all again for being on the show tonight, DJ Vision, Johnny Flemming. I really appreciate it. Love you both. Thank you for coming on tonight. Um, DJ Vision, how can people follow you if they want to see your latest events and things that you are doing? How can people follow you?
Okay, you can follow me at DJ underscore Vision 601 at Instagram. I think since the last time we talked, man, my Instagram has grown exponentially. Um, I'm up to 35,000 followers.
Wow.
I like to,
And
I like,
several viral videos, ladies and gentlemen.
yeah, yeah,
Several.
yes. I have
Several.
a couple of viral videos. I look at them as like hit records almost. I got a couple of
Right.
videos, 10 million, 5 million, 8 million, 1 million. Um, so it's been a blessing. Brand is definitely growing, and I appreciate
Absolutely.
everybody that's supporting.
It's incredible. It is definitely incredible. Great to see it. And we're actually gonna bring you back sometime. Maybe the three of us again and talk about a few of those videos because they are very eye-opening.
Yeah,
Go
those
check them
videos,
out.
a whole nother topic within itself.
Oh yeah, it's a whole different topic. We gotta have you back for that one. All right. Johnny, if people want to follow you and just follow your journey, how can people do so?
I am Johnny Fleming on Facebook. JOHNNYFLEMMING. If I am ever looking for someone, tenants, I'll find you. I advertise on Facebook Marketplace and other venues. So if I need to, I'll find you.
And he also has Airbnbs, ladies and gentlemen. So if you're ever in need of that, make sure that you check those out when you see his page because he has some amazing
Yes.
properties, doing some amazing things. Proud of both of you. All right, so you know how we do this. We leave the show with a little gratitude, right? So what's something that both of you are grateful for today? How about you first, Johnny?
I am grateful for family. It is the summertime and the kids are out of school. We've been doing a little traveling. So that's been great. So I'm grateful for family.
That's beautiful. But you, Vision?
Yeah, I'm thankful for family as well, and also friends. Grateful for you guys.
Yeah, I'm grateful for the same, John. I had a chance to look at the posting of us from the other night, and just seeing comments of people talking about it, and the fact that we've been such a tight knit of friends for such a long time. Uh, Ladies and gentlemen, I've known DJ Vision. I think I shared with you before since kindergarten. We were in kindergarten together, and 2 years later in second grade, that's when I met Johnny Fleming. So all of us in this knit of friends that we have known each other for several years. I think Joe is probably the last unit of
Mhm.
the group of ours, but I'm grateful for that. For us to be able to get together and have a good time, that's always an enjoyable thing. So definitely grateful for that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for joining tonight's show. Definitely join us again next week. We're going to have another amazing guest, another amazing topic, and I want you all to definitely show up for it and keep following and keep watching. I definitely appreciate it. Have a great night. Have a great weekend.
Peace.